with the bank.
You just said it's my last.
Yeah,
is this your last fight? I mean,
some great hit. Is this it?
Is it?
Is it?
Oh.
Did you tell the UFC this is my last fight? Because they're gonna put together a package and everything.
Maybe.
Beautiful.
Yeah. No, this is it, man. I fell in love with business, man. I do a lot, man. I have two kids. They're growing up. I don't like cutting weight, raising kids, doing the whole nine. I like being there, and I fell in love with real estate. Marketing, the whole nine. I'm doing such a. I'm making such a great living, dude, that I'm just, it's time to just peace out.
All right, everybody, break out the tissue boxes. Henry Cejudo is going to retire again. Dude, I don't know how many more of these I can take. You got to cut this out. My tear ducts are drying up and they're going to wither away. Stop it. Hearing that an MMA fighter is retiring is like hearing that a bear is swearing off salmon. Like, sure, buddy, we believe you. This is probably the most tragic aspect of this sport, or any combat sport, really, where you have to give up chasing your dream by the time you hit your 40s, pretty much. And most people can't go on past that without accruing some life-altering damage physically or mentally. I imagine it's a gargantuan pill to swallow for these guys, and I always feel for them. Their bodies can't keep up with what they want them to do. That shit must taste bitter as hell. And as such, most of the time when we hear that a fighter is retiring, especially if it's not planned ahead, like Poirier's trilogy with Max Holloway in his home state with the goodbye package and everything, I feel like we're all just going, yeah, okay, pal, see you in 9 months. With Cejudo, it's kind of comical how often he says he's gonna hang up the gloves in there. It feels like he does this song and dance before every fight these days. But I actually do believe him this time. 38 years old, he's clearly slowing down. He won't have much of a shot in hell against the likes of Merab or Umar or Jan. And he always said that he only wants to do this to compete with the best, so the second he can't do that, he should probably bounce. Glad he's finally calling it a career for good, apparently, because he doesn't have anything left to prove. He proved everything he needed to and then some 5 years ago. I don't personally get much out of seeing the young bucks come up and whoop his ass. I know Cejudo is a dork and a bit of a meme, but I think it's easy for us to forget how much of a force he was in the late 2010s. Like, we all know that, we all know his legacy, we know his resume, we get it, but I feel like people forget about it. He was looking down the barrel of some true next level greatness. He was right on the cusp of it. Even in the short time he had at the top echelon of the sport, he was able to pull off some pretty great things. Getting the gold medal in the 2008 Olympics is honestly insane enough, and he was young, and with nothing left to prove in the wrestling front, he made his way into MMA. He gets his first UFC fight in late 2014, racking up a 4-fight win streak, lands himself a title shot against the flyweight GOAT Demetrius Johnson. It was a bit premature, perhaps, and there were rumored issues in camp, because this one will be stopped dead in his tracks when Cejudo ate some brutal knees to the body and caved, leading to a TKO loss. He then failed the attempted bounce-back win by dropping another loss by split decision to Joseph Benavidez. But he was far from done. Starches Wilson Reyes, beat Sergio Pettis by decision, second title shot. This was flyweight in 2018, mind you. Wasn't that hard. And this time, he makes it a chess match. Super, super close fight. With some thinking DJ should have actually taken home the dub, but Cejudo got it, becoming the brand spanking new flyweight king. But rather than taking the scepter from DJ and picking up where he left off, i.e. coming through every contender 125 twice over and going on kind of a long but boring streak, things were kicked into overdrive when he was handed a champ versus champ super fight against TJ Dillashaw, with the catch being that TJ would actually be moving down to him at flyweight. The extra spice on this one was that should TJ win, they were just going to toss out flyweight entirely. It wasn't popular whatsoever, and I'm sure Dana was sick of promoting its carcass. So this one was important. Stakes were high. This was all the marbles right here. TJ Dillashaw actually embraced his role as the fly swatter going down to kill the entire 125-pound scene. It was on Cejudo's shoulders to defend not only his belt, not just himself, but the whole damn ship with it. But luckily for him, TJ was nothing but a mere collection of bones going in. Or a skeleton, I guess. Was caught and finished in the beginning seconds of the first round. So boom, flyweight saved. And the arrangement was that they would basically take turns defending their belts, do 125 first and then 135. So ideally we see the rematch next. But alas, a harsh weight cut turned Dillashaw's attention to the dark arts, it would seem, as he'd later pop for EPO soon after their fight. He was forced to vacate his belt. But Cejudo had no intention of slowing down, so he moves up anyway and takes on Marlon Moraes for the strap. Bear in mind, at the time, Moraes was fucking terrifying. He was the go-to boogeyman of bantamweight with serious, scary knockout power. Cejudo took this challenge head-on and eventually found his way to a ground-and-pound finish in the third. And just like that, Henry Cejudo was one of the very few to become double champ. He'd then make his first defense at 135 in May of 2020 against the then consensus bantamweight GOAT, Dominic Cruz. It was clear just from the eye test alone that Cejudo was getting better with each performance. He was developing this bladed karate stance on the feet and had some power in his hands, and this really rounded out his skill set immensely. He'd secure another finish at the end of the second round. It's a little controversial, but still, holy shit. Get a load of this guy and his lead-heavy balls over here. What the fuck? Beats the flyweight GOAT, saves the division from extinction from Dillashaw, becomes double champ, and then takes out the bantamweight GOAT? We're just speed running shit here. What's he gonna do next? Oh my god. Well, the answer would be nothing. He'd be fighting no one, because he very abruptly and awkwardly announced his retirement in the cage.
Joe, I'm happy with my career. I've done enough in the sport. I want to walk away. I want to enjoy myself. I'm 33 years old. I have a girl now, Amanda, who's watching back home. I eventually want to start a family.
It was out of the blue, and again, awkward as shit. But at the time, it was kind of like, you know what? If he sticks to it, good for him. There was still more we wanted to see, still some good matchups. He just hit his prime and seemed to be getting better. But if he doesn't fold on this in 6 months, Godspeed, cringe man. Go start that family. Yeah, so sadly this wasn't too surprising. I'm not saying his reasoning wasn't partly just to get out while he was ahead, for sure, but the UFC being stingy, miserly insects being the real reason for his exodus made a lot more sense. He'd come back for money fights, apparently, if the money fights were available. But this is one of the most infamous mistakes in UFC history, because the issue Henry had is I think he overestimated how much of a draw he actually was. He was certainly building traction right at the tail end of his reign, gaining prestige and some popularity, but he was by no means a star, really. And the way he left the division a mess after just taking the vacant belt for himself certainly had to have Dana's forehead turning crimson. So there's no way in hell they'd take him back under these terms. I think Cejudo assumed they'd fight to keep him around and pay him more. By just leaving his belt and walking away, he basically just tossed all of his leverage right in the garbage. There was literally no reason for the UFC to meet his demands. All respect in the world to the guy, but this is a serious dunderhead move on his part. The thing is, if he stayed retired anyway, I think his legacy would have remained pretty damn solid. Even if it felt like he cut things off a bit early, still. There's still some gas left in the tank, there were still fights you wanted to see, yada yada. But if he stuck to his guns, it would have been up there with Khabib's retirement as one of those where maybe he doesn't enter the GOAT conversation. Not even really top 5. He'd be one of those examples for other champions to strive towards. Get in, make your dream come true, and get out before your brain melts. But this man could not help himself, because 3 years after vacating his belt, he comes back in a title shot against Aljamain Sterling. 3 entire years he was on the sidelines, gathering rust like an old wrench, and Aljo's over here in his prime, fighting on the regular. I don't know about this one, Chief, but hey, he pulls it off and gets his belt back after being gone for that long. That actually strengthens his legacy significantly, so honestly, I respect the attempt. But he would not fulfill this fantasy, dropping a split decision loss. And already people were kind of clowning him for either retiring in his prime or for coming back after a long layoff, or both. But it was a close fight. Some people thought he won, so not a huge deal, no biggie. He'd then come back a year later against Merab, clearly trying to keep his name in the mix, get back at that title picture again. Woo boy, this one was rough. The Aljo fight was close. This one was not close. This one was embarrassing. He looked a bit slower, a bit older himself, which is bad enough, but he was against Merab, and Merab just Merab'd him around, actually picking him up at one point and carrying him across the octagon to Mark Zuckerberg and throwing him on the floor with a smile on his face. Jesus. Cejudo would then, again, unceremoniously retire for the second time, leaving his gloves in the cage. He was given no goodbye package. He wasn't even given an interview as a send-off. The UFC was not having it this time. This clearly did not sit well with him, and I don't blame him, as he'd then come out saying afterwards that he wasn't done just yet.
I am not leaving. Guys, yeah, Saturday night, dude, it took me a minute. Was it all or nothing for me? Yeah, and I meant it.
He'd then be booked earlier this year against dangerous contender Song Yadong. And honestly, in this one, he did alright. Looked pretty good in that fight. While it lasted, anyway. Because similar to what we just saw with Aspinall this past weekend, Cejudo had his eyeballs raked off of his skull with fingernails, leading to an early end of the bout. But not a no contest, mind you. Rather a decision win to Song Yadong since the fight went on long enough to go to the scorecards. I'm still not sure why that's a thing, but anyways. Cejudo had his eyeballs raked and lost the fight. Whatever guardian angel he had on his side for his first portion of his UFC career was shot in an alley somewhere, because he was fresh out of luck at this point. And so now we're back at the present, where Cejudo is going in there against the fan-touted prospect Peyton Talbott, where yet again, he's claiming this will be his last dance. And again, I do believe him this time, but it kind of takes a bit of the shine off it when you announce this multiple times. Anyway, sure, yeah, okay, last dance. Regardless of whether or not he wins this swan song bout, this whole saga has felt like a huge miscalculation. Could have just left it as is, you know, retired on top, but But coming back and dropping 3 losses has done nothing but taint his resume. I really wish it didn't. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it just does, okay? I'm sorry. I feel like he'll look back at every decision that led to this and kinda cringe at it. Gave away his prime years only to come back older and slower against a new wave of competition. Unless you're a freak specimen, that's never gonna go down well. That's why I'm thanking God above that Mighty Mouse flat out refuses to return to ONE or UFC or anything else. No matter what the payday is, he's like, fuck that, no. And I just want the same for Cejudo. I just hope he gets one last win and then retires for good. Let's end things on an upswing again, please.